Welcome back to Country Boy Science. So we're back at the mud boat trying to get it painted, and you'll see in this video I had an epic fail, but I still think it's important for the viewer to see the steps that I went through and where I went wrong and then what I did to correct it. All in all, the boat turned out amazing, so I'm really happy with it. So I think there's a lot of good material here that that hopefully you can appreciate. So as I'm sanding here, all I'm trying to do really is just the paint that's on the boat is good. Good paint, it's stuck on there is what I mean. It doesn't look good. But what I'm trying to do is just basically rough it up. I'm not trying to take it down to bare metal, although a lot of this is down to bare metal, and that's why I have to use an etching paint for this. But as you can see, kind of wipe this dust away and clean it up. It's rough looking, and that's going to help the paint to adhere better. So I've got this whole thing to do. I'm not going to sit here and make you watch me sand all day long, but this is what we're up against, and I'm going to get at it, and we'll check back in once I get finished. But right in here, you can see this the whole bottom of this boat is just covered with like scuffs and stuff, and there's some on the sides. And I've been using 180 grit, and it's it's getting the paint down like I want it, roughing up the surface, but it's not really doing much for these gouges. And I don't know if it really matters, but I think I'm gonna try some heavier grit sandpaper, and let's I'm gonna show you what the 180, how it kind of acts compared to, like an 80 grit or something like that. So let's try it. Didn't do too bad. That's the 180. Let's try a little heavier. That was the 180. We're gonna try the 80 grit and see what it does. So this gouge, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it, they're kind of deep. Let's see what it does. Actually back it up this one right here and see. The 80 might help smooth it out a little bit. Honestly, it'd do about the same, but I'm gonna keep at it and just try to get it looking good as I can. Might be a redneck. All right, we got her sanded, blown off. I'm getting ready to wipe it down with some alcohol and get it all good and cleaned up. I'll probably have to go back and sand some spots by hand where the mouse wouldn't get. And the bottom of the boat, it's pretty banged up. It's not gently used, but it's fine. We're gonna put that slick bottom on there, and you know, that should give it a smoother coat. But man, it's so dented and scratched up. I don't even know how a human can scratch it up that bad, to be honest with you. The fella that owned this, he must have liked to throw him back a little bit while he was riding the boat. But no, I don't mean that. He's a pretty big old boy. I don't want you to tell him that. But anyhow, it's coming along good. I'm fixing to get to wiping it down. All right, so I'm gonna wipe this thing down with some alcohol. You know, I work in the chemical industry, so one of the benefits, I guess, is getting some chemical once in a while. But what I've got is about 2.5 gallons of 99% isopropyl alcohol. So I'm gonna put that on there and get it cleaned up. Yep. Guess it's gonna rain instead. We waited out in the barn for a while. Yep, time to go. Alright, so I'm using the TotalBoat aluminum boat paint. This is the flat dark earth color. This is a water-based paint, and it's supposed to be able to apply it directly to bare aluminum. So we're going to try it out. I've got, you know, some bare aluminum and then other factory paint left on this, and I'm going to spray it out of a spray gun, just a Harbor Freight gun, HVLP gun, and yeah, let's get to it, see how it does. Alright, so started doing the first coat and quickly learned that it's not, you know, I don't know what I'm doing, by the way, but it's not like spray paint. These automotive guns, it seems to go a bit slower, so you have to really take your time, and instead of going, you know, back and forth hitting it twice, you pretty much just go a slow one direction and then come back underneath and go and go and go. So this first one on this side, as you can tell, is really light, and finally I figured out, okay, you got to slow down a bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit this again in just a minute. I'm gonna finish up the first coat. I haven't got the back yet, and then I'm gonna hit this again, make it a little thicker, let it dry a while. Kind of fighting the wind here as well. Probably gonna rain on me again. I hope not. Just now when I started spraying it, the wind's like blowing against me, so I'm trying to wait just a second. This little tiny air compressor too, that's slowing me down. I keep having to wait for it to pick up a little bit. So I got the first coat on, and it's pretty thin. It started to sprinkle rain on me, so you can see it kind of dried a little bit, but then, you know, some spots like right here you can see where it started to rain, and actually it looked like that on the other side, but you know, the good news is this is water based, so it'll be interesting to see how it dries, like if it dries runny or if it flattens out. If it flattens out, I think we're good, you know, once we just do the next coat and just kind of paint over top of it. But so back here, you know, we kind of had the same thing, and you can see, you know, a little right here, but it's actually flattened out. So if we have to, we'll sand it and start over. It's just the way it goes sometimes. So this side, it looked just like the other side, and you know, of course it's in the sun, but I don't even see the spots anymore. I think they just dried so quickly, but it's hard to see the color, and it's thin, but it's certainly a lot lighter than it looked on the can. I was expecting it to be more like a dark brown, like a chocolatish kind of color, or in between that and this, but certainly looks a lot lighter, so we'll see once we get a couple more coats on. Right here it almost looks kind of khaki color. See that? Anyway, rough day, but we'll get at it again soon, maybe even today if the Weather Channel will quit lying to me. Alright, so I got this one area right in here, if I get it where you can see it, where the rain had hit it, and it's kind of making these little bubbles. So I'm going to go ahead and, it's about dry now, I'm going to go ahead and hit that with some sandpaper. Everything else looks pretty good except this one little area. Let's see if this sandpaper will knock this down. Some 320. Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted. I'm gonna get that off because I don't think that once it's bubbled up like that, it probably would end up peeling off later. That and let it, you can tell it's not completely dry, but kind of let that cure a little bit. It's getting hot out here, and maybe we can paint again. Alright, it's getting there. We're into our second coat here. Remember this side we were a little light. But we're gonna end up doing 3 or 4 coats. So, but this is the spot here that I went back and sanded, and it looks pretty smooth. I think once we get another coat on there, we'll really be able to tell. Some of the spots I'm talking about where you can tell they're kind of on that rib, but you know, it's a John boat at the end of the day. I just hope the paint sticks good. That's the main thing. It's coming out good. Definitely lighter than I wanted, but it still looks good. I'm happy with it. Once it dries, that sheen kind of goes away, and it looks good. It's like a dark tan, I guess. Almost looks green right now, but it's definitely the dark tan color. Getting this little compressor a break. Trying to paint with a whatever this is, a little 2.5 gallon compressor, and it's doing it. It's just slow. All right, let's get back at it. Here it is, all wrapped up. It's still a little wet. So on the final coat, the third coat, I ended up just doing like a dust coat. So I held the sprayer back like, I don't know, 15 inches or maybe a little more, and I just did a light dusting over the top. And one thing I noticed about doing that was that it helped with the sheen a little bit with this TotalBoat product. It has sort of more of like a satin finish. It's not exactly, you know, like matte, but by holding the gun back and kind of dusting it, it helped to make it more that matte look. You know, it's kind of overcast right now, so we'll see when the sun shines on it. It's certainly not a matte finish, but it's closer than it was. I think that was helpful doing the dust coat. All in all, looks good. I can't wait to get the slick bottom on there. I gotta figure out how I'm gonna do. You know, I'm gonna want to do like drop down like a couple inches and do a line all the way down. And with this boat, you know, on the chine here, it goes from a hard square to a round, so that might be a little bit of a challenge to try to figure that out, but probably just measure from that center point up once I get past this hard line here, and just kind of find something I like and tape it and go with it. But we'll include that in the video here soon. You could just scrape the paint off with your fingernail, so I just went ahead and sanded it all back off. Well, as you can see, I had to start over completely. I really don't think it was the fault of the paint. I think it was my fault. I don't think I had the paint mixed up as good as it should. I used just a regular stir stick and mixed it up. So I think that was one problem. I went back with the drill and just mixed the crap out of it, and I could tell a difference. There was like some powder stuff kind of stuck on the bottom. So I went back, I did that, but I went ahead and added a step just to make sure. So I bought some U-Pol Acid 8 Acid Etch Primer, and I went ahead and primed the boat with that before I painted it again with the TotalBoat. So I was taking a little gamble there by doing the TotalBoat again, but let's see the results of how that turned out. So I'm out here in the, obviously it's getting dark out here, it got real dark, but so I use that U-Pol primer on this boat. It's the U-Pol 8 Acid Etch Primer, and it's been on there maybe an hour, and what I'm already seeing is, like you can see here, there's some bare metal. So this is my tape line, and then the old paint, you can see this is just overspray. But this stuff, I'm telling you right now, it is hard as a rock already. It's sticking to the paint, it's sticking to the metal. It seems to be very good. So I'm real tickled with that I did that as a primer coat. Tomorrow morning it's going to be the top coat, and then I'm hoping that it'll stick. If not, I guess we'll start over and do it again. Looking good though. Kind of like the gray, really. Big old frog out there in that pond too. Looking for a gig, I think. Alright, so I'm trying the TotalBoat again. This time I'm going to thin it with water a little bit. So I'm going to mix up 20 ounces. I'm using about 18 ounces of paint, or 17 ounces of paint, and 3 ounces of water. Just going to measure my paint. So the reason I'm doing this, I was told that when you add a little water to these water-based paints like this, that it can actually help them to harden faster. I guess it increases the rate of evaporation, so it tends to dry a little quicker and harder, I guess, sooner. Last time, you could peel this stuff off the boat just with your fingernail after like 3-4 days a week, but I did notice after like 2 weeks it had gotten harder, but it had got rained on and everything else, so just decided to get it all off there and start fresh. So I primed it this time and paint this stuff over it. Just pray that it'll stick to the primer. Good old Home Depot mixing buckets. I went over there to wash it off, wash it out, and the damn numbers washed off. Fortunately, we've already mixed our batch, but I'm gonna have to find something else to do on our next one. Alright, there's 3 coats. Looks pretty good. I think diluting it a little bit, or thinning it, whatever you want to call it. I think it helped it come out a little flatter this time. I know last time it had a little sheen to it. This time it looks pretty flat. This tape ripped off of here. Give it a little while before I do that. That's pretty good. It's not perfect by any means, but I'm happy with it. Beat the crap out of this boat. Fish guts, frog guts, kids jumping off of it, banging in the stumps. Perfect paint job for this boat for sure. I had one spot where I don't know if it was from the towel I was using, like on rough metal or something, but it kind of stuck on there up front here on this side. You can see that, but bumps there. But I may go back and hit it with a little sandpaper. I still got to paint the inside of this boat, so any flaws out here, if I want to fix it, I can go back and rough it up a little bit and spray it again, just like one quick coat or something. But all in all, it's pretty good. Hard as a rock this time. Real tickle with it. So all in all, I got to give TotalBoat an A+. I think all the issues I had were just a fault of my own, from the rain to not mixing it up well enough. I did do an extra step this time. I went and put the primer on there and sprayed it, and the primer came out hard as a rock. That's good stuff. and then the TotalBoat came out hard as a rock as well. And even where I'd oversprayed, where I didn't have primer, the TotalBoat was still hard. So again, everything I did in the past, you know, I learned from my mistakes and went back and had to start over, you know, but I'm tickled with the outcome. The boat looks great, and I got to give TotalBoat an A+. So I appreciate you watching, and you know, like and subscribe. Thank you.